All right, everybody, welcome. We are here with Eric Semler, head of Semler Scientific, one of the major companies in the United States holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet, sort of following in MicroStrategy's or Strategy's footsteps. Eric, thank you so much for joining us here.
Great to be here.
Pleasure to be here with you. So you just spoke in there. You talked a little bit about the fact that you've been on your Bitcoin journey as a public company. Can you tell us a little bit about what the last, I think now 10 months have been like since you've announced that you'd be buying Bitcoin, then accumulating it, and sort of, again, following that same playbook of accumulating it month after month, week after week?
Right. Thank you. Well, it's great to be here.
My pleasure.
It's been super exciting. It's had its ups and downs. I mean, for the most part, it's been just a terrific, vitalizing experience for me and our shareholders and our board and our employees. Everybody's like fully on board. It's just been great to kind of, to get this great kind of electricity into our stock, into our company. It's translated into value creation since we started. I think our stock at one point had quadrupled. Now it's like basically doubled, but it was doing nothing for years, and it was actually going down for years. So this has been a great kind of turn of events, and I'm really optimistic about the future. I think there was a lot to learn in those first 10 months, and I'm just proud that we were kind of a pioneer. I'm from Oregon. I'm in Lewis and Clark country. I come from that pioneer heritage, and I think we were a pioneer. I think Michael Saylor obviously is the quintessential pioneer, but we're in that group. We were the second U.S. public company to adopt Bitcoin as a primary treasury reserve strategy.
Amazing. And oftentimes, we talk about, sometimes people say like zombie companies should adopt Bitcoin or something, but you really weren't. You had a cash flow. The company was doing well. Did this just help to just, I guess, bring more light, shed some more light on what you were doing as a company and say like, look, we have cash flow plus we have Bitcoin on the balance sheet? Was it just part of the value proposition for what you were doing?
I'm going to counter you on that one because I think we really were a zombie company in the sense that a zombie company is a company whose stock has languished, whose company is generating cash but not getting any credit for it, who's profitable and is just, had kind of these horrid returns over years. And we needed some way to figure out how to get out of that rut. And so in that sense, we were a zombie. A zombie in the sense that we were kind of the Walking Dead, where our stock wasn't creating any value. So my career as an investor in the stock market, I still run a fund called TCS Capital. It's a family office now, but we had at our peak we're about $4 billion under management. So I've been very active in the stock market for 30 years, and toward the later stages of my career now, I've become more of an activist. And I became an activist on the Semler board. I wasn't actually involved in the company until 2 years ago. I went on the board because the company was a zombie company. It had all this cash. It looked eerily similar to MicroStrategy in August of 2020. We had a very similar profile, a lot of cash, a lot of our market cap was in cash. We weren't really growing, and we needed we needed to figure out a way to jumpstart our growth, either through an acquisition or through buying Bitcoin. And we settled on Bitcoin, which was a great decision, but it was really my activism that prompted this. And so, I'm relatively new to the company, and I think so far so good.
Okay. Everyone has a different Bitcoin journey. Bitcoin, we know about Bitcoin's volatility and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You've been sort of thrust into the spotlight to some extent as well. We were just talking about this off camera, maybe not to the same extent as Michael Saylor, who we know is sort of everywhere all the time talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
What has it been like? What has it been like sort of being the second public company in the United States, being someone that people are coming to now, I'm sure, asking questions about? What is it like to hold this thing on the balance sheet? What are the details? What is it like dealing with that volatility? How do shareholders feel, et cetera? Please dive in wherever you feel comfortable there.
Sure. I've always had, since we started and over the last years, I have strong conviction in Bitcoin, but I had no idea what I was getting into.
Please expand, please expand.
The entire social media aspect of it, the kind of being out there and being, rah-rah Bitcoin, and a lot of, there's a lot of fluff in there. And I'm not like that. I'm more of an introvert. I'm not into kind of exposing myself on social media. Sure. So that part of it was really jolting for me.
Okay.
I'd say that having all of this entirely new shareholder base of just really excited and people that really want to, you know, put themselves out there and have become really great cheerleaders for us and also critical of us at times is a great thing to have.
Okay.
And not something I was prepared for either. You know?
Okay.
And so just, you know, speaking at this conference today and meeting people in the lobby and so forth, and, you know, everybody wants to talk to you, and I'm just not used to that. Okay. In my career, I started out as a journalist. I'm always kind of on your side. I'm interviewing people. I'm really comfortable with that. Yeah. I don't like being interviewed, but I like interviewing people.
You're doing a good job, by the way. So yeah.
And then you know, I've been an investor for like 30 years, and that's really also kind of, you know, low key. You're on the other side of the table asking questions, and you never really want to be public with yourself. You kind of try to stay out of the public. So this is a new thing for me. I'm getting used to it. But I think at the end of the day, really what matters is that we own a lot of Bitcoin and that Bitcoin appreciates. And I think through all of the, you know, the pomp and circumstance, I think that what matters most is that we create shareholder value. And that's really what I'm focused on. Okay. And I don't think that necessarily requires like this, you know, incredibly successful social media experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Has it attracted a significant amount of bigger shareholders, institutions that have come to you? And then my thought there is sort of, why are they coming to Semler Scientific versus maybe just figuring out a way to buy some Bitcoin themselves, buy the ETF, something like that? What is it about the value proposition that you're offering that's attracting them? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think it's kind of not well known, but most investment funds can't buy ETFs.
Right.
They can't buy the spot BTC, so they really don't have a lot of options in terms of investing in Bitcoin. And there aren't that many fund managers that I think are dying to own Bitcoin in their portfolio. Sure. But there are some really smart, large institutional shareholders, guys like Mark Casey at Capital Research, who have been really, you know, pioneers themselves in becoming large shareholders of Strategy. They're shareholder of our company, right. And so I think that it's just important to understand that you can't, you know, for a large number of the huge funds in this country, we're MicroStrategy and a few other companies are really their only way to kind of get exposure to Bitcoin in the stock market.
Got it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Where did your conviction come from? I'm imagining you didn't just watch 5 or 6 Michael Saylor videos and say, hey, I want to be like this guy. Where did your Bitcoin conviction come from?
It's a great question too. You know, I had been following Bitcoin in the early days. I only invest in public companies, but I always kind of follow what was coming in the private pipeline, and so I would meet with Bitcoin companies and try to get a hold of it and understand it. And I never was really that convinced that it was going to be successful. I wasn't negative. I was just very much skeptical.
Okay.
And I think what changed it for me was just a few people that I really respected that were very strong investors and proponents in it. One of them was a venture capitalist named Jim Robinson. Okay. Tom Lee, who's a close friend of mine, who's always been a strong proponent of Bitcoin. When really smart people like that, are so convicted and have been successful owning it, I take notice. And that kept me interested in it. But I think the institutionalization really very recently in the last, since, the last year with the ETFs and with the administration being so supportive of Bitcoin, I think that has really locked me in.
Yeah, absolutely. Final question: if other people who are watching are thinking, "Hey, I want to start putting Bitcoin on my company's balance sheet," you got in at a pretty decent time, right? Yeah. So the market has appreciated, or Bitcoin's price has appreciated a lot. For some other people, they might not get in at such an opportune time. Bear markets tend to continue to exist in Bitcoin. We don't just go up only, despite what some people, say. What advice would you give to someone who's maybe does want to add it to it? Maybe they do end up buying the top. What is the best sort of strategy? How should they be thinking about Bitcoin as they're putting it on their balance sheet? Not, trying not to react to it on a day-to-day, month-to-month, week-to-week basis.
I'd say just be ready for volatility. If you're comfortable with that, know that that's going to be part of this experience, and just try to keep in mind what Bitcoin is, at least as an investment, your investment thesis. If your investment thesis is Bitcoin is gold, it's digital gold, then this is a great time to invest because that disparity in value between gold and Bitcoin has only widened. Yep. Gold has appreciated, Bitcoin has sold off to some degree versus gold. So this is a great time to do that, but just be ready for volatility. When we first purchased Bitcoin, we took almost all of our cash and bought Bitcoin in May last year. As soon as we finished buying, the news came out that Mt. Gox was doing a distribution. And I think Bitcoin just plummeted like 25% in a short period of time.
That, yeah.
And it was a real, it was a hit to the stomach, a stomach punch. And, it tested our conviction, and we were able to, come through that and realize, God, we got to own more of this. So, we don't have enough capital to buy more,
Right.
So we got to generate more organic capital, which we did, and we bought more Bitcoin, and we raised capital in both, the stock market and with our shares in an ATM, but also through the convertible market. We did a, $100 million convertible loan. And so, just be prepared for that, but recognize this is a great timing to buy it, I think.
Fair enough. Appreciate that. I actually have a last question, if you don't mind. You mentioned on stage, you just spoke on stage with Dylan LeClaire and some other people in the institutional space about, eventually maybe doing more than just hodling your Bitcoin, right? Yeah. A lot of people, again, the digital gold narrative is quite popular, but you can also think about it as collateral, right? And maybe do something with that, finance against it, all that kind of stuff. Long term, I know right now you're just accumulating. Long term, what do you sort of look at with all these Bitcoin holdings you'll have? What do you want to do with them?
Yeah, I think that we're early in accumulating Bitcoin, and we're going to continue to do that. I see us being a large holder of Bitcoin. I think earlier this year we were the 10th largest corporate holder of Bitcoin. I'm hoping that we'll go up higher on that list, and I think that just kind of puts us in a position to do some of the things you're talking about. When you have, really the top banks like JP Morgan and lenders of last resort in the game, I think you can feel more comfortable about becoming like a Bitcoin bank yourself. Sure. And doing financing transactions to generate income. I believe in that. And I'm not sure when we're not really looking at anything, tomorrow, but, someday down the road, I could see us being kind of a Bitcoin financial company.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. Eric,
right, thank you.
So much.
Great
Appreciate
to see you.
it.
Thanks
we'll
a lot.
soon.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks.